Welcome to an episode of Founder in the Chair. So I have a guest with me who went from redundancy to getting sacked to becoming one of the most in-demand mortgage brokers in the industry. He built a name through bold personal branding, strategic networking, and showing up relentlessly online. I mean, every time I go on social media, he's there. He's like one of the first posts that come up. He's the force behind Elan Property Finance, helping investors, landlords and developers secure the right funding for their next big move. So I am super excited to welcome today the amazing Shaz Ahmed. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's been a long time since we arranged to do this and we're doing it.
Yeah, and we're here today. So normally it's where's Shaz? Well, he's here today.
He's everywhere. Omnipresent.
Honestly, like I can't keep up. It's like 1 minute you're there, 1 minute there. You're going to be in Dubai soon.
Yes, I am, yeah. I don't think I called you. I said by the time we record this, it'll be official. So yeah, I wasn't going to tell anyone, but I'm going to Dubai this week.
Yeah.
It's a working trip. Like I said, I don't do holidays, but it's non-stop podcasts, events, meetings and collaborations.
How long are you there for?
4 nights. But I've checked I've got an app for my itinerary because I need organisation.
Yeah. And
it's just fully booked. Yeah.
Wow. Any downtime then?
Maybe after like 11 p.m, I'll just have a quick dip in the sauna or something.
Wow, so 4 days, and the event you're doing, is that 4 days long or?
No, so there's a gentleman called Dil Khan.
Right.
He owns Emirates podcast studio.
Okay.
And he reached out to me. He's like, Shaz, love what you're doing, been following you for so long, which is always nice. He's like, I'm hosting this event, I would love for you to be involved. I was like, I don't say no to many people. I was like, great, let's do it.
Yeah, I love that you don't say no to many people.
Yeah.
Every opportunity.
I think initially I don't say no. There's seasons.
Yeah.
I have seasons where I just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
But then you've got to slow down and manage your time as well.
How do you manage your time then? You just said you've got some app.
Oh, that's just for my holiday timetable. When I say manage my time, I think I'm pretty good at being effective with my time. So I'm here today.
Yeah.
2-hour trip to get here, 2-hour trip to get back.
Yeah.
And then I might be thinking, well, my emails, my calls, I'll manage that because I'll leave an hour early and stop at a service station for an hour, do the admin and carry on. You've got to make the time.
No, I do that as well. I sometimes stop because if you're going to drive for so long, by the time you stop, you've missed that window of replying to somebody and then replying back to you. Yeah. Okay, I get it. So tell me, where's Shaz? Tell me a little bit about that. How do you travel all over the country?
I just see it as something I kind of need to do as second nature. I don't see why people wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's my business, so kind of I'm relying on me. I am the business. I've got staff, admin staff, but I am the face of it, as it were.
Okay.
And it's the same as, I guess, I'm based in Wales.
Right.
So I decided to stay in Wales. I'll do business with Welsh people for Welsh properties, which are a lot smaller in value as well.
Yes.
But if I want to expand my network, my brand and my reach, I've got to travel. Obviously, I use social media as well.
Yes.
But I don't see why you wouldn't. I think 2 hours max is kind of my threshold. But yeah, I think in 2025, you've got no reason to try and venture out.
Yeah. So you said if you had stayed just in Wales, obviously you would only have those clients. What was that moment when you thought, right, I'm going to start travelling. I'm going to start going everywhere?
So, like you said in the intro, I was working for Barclays Bank doing mortgages, but that was purely residential mortgages. Quite boring and basic. I'm looking back now, just processing business, taking orders, processing business. Then we had garden leave for 6 months. I started a job at more of a specialist company, similar to what I'm doing now. I got sacked after like 11 months. And I think at that point, I was like, look, the next step has to be my step as opposed to working under or for someone. And then when I started doing that, I was like, look, I've got no clients, I've got no brand, I've got no hope really, got no income, I've got to do something. And that's when it was like, okay, social media, networking, and personal branding, just do it all.
So social media, I know a lot of people shy away from it.
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who's shying away from it right now?
I would say you kind of have to use it as your shop window because that's where people are looking. But if it is something that isn't second nature, and it isn't to me, if I'm honest, a lot of the time. But
you wouldn't think so.
You wouldn't think so because the reason like that is I treat it like part of my job. So if there's any part of the business that I don't really want to do or don't like doing, then I'll revert back to, well, it's part of my job, isn't it?
It's your shop window.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said networking.
Yes, loads of networking. So, and this is when, in the property industry, that you go to like these networking events. I'm sure it's similar in a lot of industries. You meet investors, so potential clients. You meet other brokers, so people, peers. There's other service providers, and you grow a community. I think when you're starting off, I would suggest going to as many events as you can because you have time. Why would you be picky, right?
Yeah.
Go to as many as you can, but then slowly figure out which is kind of your tribe and stick with that.
Yeah.
I'd also recommend going to events that are in your industry, but also outside of yours, because at those, you'll be the only person that does what you do. So you stand out in a good way.
Yeah, and you get your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't go in with the expectation that you go once or twice and suddenly you get leads. It doesn't happen that way. But what happens is you nurture relationships, you add value to people's lives, and they'll remember you, and that's what you want, just recognition.
And then when they need that finance.
When they're ready, no one's ready. No one's walking into an event going, I need a mortgage broker, I've got this deal.
Yeah.
But what they are doing perhaps is thinking, look, I'm not ready yet, but I might save a deposit in 6 months. Who in this room is able to solve my problem in 6 months? And they'll keep in touch.
So do you still network a lot?
I've slowed down a little bit, but still more than most people. So yeah, I still do.
So where does your main business come from then? Is it the social media? Is it the networking? Where does it mainly come from?
I get asked this a lot, right? And I do track it, but often it's not just the one thing, it's a combination. So I'll get a message on Instagram, hey Shaz, been following you for a while, met you at this event, or I saw you on this podcast. So it's always 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
And that's great because half the job then is done. They're not caring about fees, or they want to work with you. Exactly that. So it's always 2 or 3 touch points.
So would you say it's really important to brand yourself?
Yeah, brand yourself quite intentionally. Like, who do you want to work with? Whose problems can you solve? And you don't want to be like a catch-all, because so in my industry, there's some mortgage brokers whose marketing is, we help people with good credit, bad credit, low income, high income. Like, they just do everything, and then that isn't specialist. That's just, you want all kinds of business. I'm quite focused. I work with property investors, and that's it. So if it was a mortgage for a house you want to live in, I just wouldn't do it. I literally would turn you away politely. So I think you've got to be focused about who you can help, how you can solve their problems. For me, the approach on like social media has been about like not gatekeeping as well. So there's no secrets.
Yeah, you're very good with your advice.
Give people the information they need, and they can figure out they might want to work with someone else. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm just not scared of like not having clients, because ultimately, let's say me and you were talking.
Yeah.
And then you took something I gave you and went to someone else. That's okay, because we were never going to be long-term business relationships anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I don't see it as a loss, but it does build credibility long-term.
So why did you niche to the type of investors that you work with? Why don't you do residential, for example?
There's a couple of reasons, and I'll be totally frank with you. I think one is it's more income potential, because if you think about it, landlords and investors, they're doing multiple deals every 3 months or 6 months, right? So the repeat business is higher. And on top of that, the referral business is higher, because they're always speaking to people in their network saying, this guy can help you out. But I would say is residential mortgages, people who want to live in a house, they do value a lot more, because it's like my first house, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Whereas investors are a bit more like, here's a new deal, sort it out.
Yeah.
But they tend to trust you. It's their business. So I like that as well. It kind of, you can operate as the finance arm of their business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main reason is and also, sorry, just to be really honest, residential mortgages are regulated by the FCA. So you have to do a lot more paperwork.
Okay.
And a lot more kind of note taking and just all the red tape. Buy-to-let and investments are non-regulated.
Right.
There's still obviously note taking, but not as much. So that for me is also a benefit.
Wow, that's a tip. And so if someone's listening, they might now think, wow, that's what I'm going to go into. So can you give an example of someone who's been successful in property that you've helped?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'll name him. There's a client / good friend of mine called Tej Singh. He's got his own podcast and all this kind of stuff. So he's big on social media for that. When we first spoke, he's like, Shaz, I hate mortgage brokers. I don't want to work with people.
I hate them.
Yeah, and his brand then at that time was very outspoken. So if he's had a bad experience, he'll stick it online.
Oh God!
And I was like, oh, God, I'll just give him the information.
Yeah.
And hope he doesn't want to work with me. But he's in the he's buying businesses because he's at that level. But through myself and through his own kind of initiative, he's bought 15 properties in the space of 9 months.
Wow.
In South Wales, cost of entry is lower.
Okay,
but
okay.
Still.
Yeah,
still
but still,
So yeah, 15 properties in 9 months. And we helped him through the refinance process, made it stress-free. And it worked both ways, if you think about it. So I helped him build his property empire, which gives him cash flow freedom, money, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he helped me by just shouting about how amazing I was online, and the amount of referrals that came through off the back of him, just solely him, was amazing. He wrote a book, and I had like 3 pages in his book, so I'm technically an Amazon bestseller.
Wow. What's the
Like,
book called?
it's called The TED Talks Guide to Buying Property, something like that.
Okay.
I was in the audiobook as well.
Ah.
So yeah, I think that worked both ways. He was like bigging me up to everyone, and people were like, that's genuine, because this guy was like slagging off mortgage brokers,
Yeah.
but now he's found one.
Yeah.
We must work with him. So yeah, that really helped. But 15 in 9 months is not easy.
And when was that? How long ago?
That was about, the last one was 2 years ago. And what's happening now is they're all coming to the end of their mortgage, so they need to be refinanced. And now
So
he's
there's
like,
the repeat business.
yeah, but he's like, Shaz, this is, the market's so different now. Things are so much more expensive and tedious. He's like, I can see why people buy businesses.
Interesting. Wow. So was it Tej Singh?
TED Talks.
Tej Talks. So you said you got sacked
Yes.
and you were made redundant.
Yep.
Would you say you're employable and could you go back to a 9 to 5?
Oh, good question. Yes and no. I am employable. Like, I'm very good at taking direction.
Are you?
Yeah, like I think there is
Or
like.
would we be wondering where's Shaz?
You wouldn't be.
He's
wondering
not
where
at
Shaz-
his desk.
Yeah, I'd just be like having a break or something. But I can take direction. I can work under someone. But I think from a lifestyle income perspective, I think that would never be matched by working for someone. So what I do
Yeah.
now in the business just wouldn't be able to be replicated.
Yeah.
So there is that. But that was, I think that's a mistake I made when I went self-employed, is increasing my lifestyle as the income went up. But it is what it is. So yeah, I can take instructions. So yeah, I can be employed.
You can.
Depends what the job is.
So if someone's listening and they want to
yeah,
give you a
like,
job,
hire me. Yeah.
contact you.
Videographer. I'll be a videographer.
You'll be a great videographer. Yeah, me, because you make great content on social media as well. And you edit it all yourself, so you told me.
I do.
Any special apps that you use? Any top tips?
So I use CapCut, which is like the most basic thing, but it's so good for like short form content.
Yeah.
I tried using Premiere, which
Okay.
is Adobe's full on professional software, and it's too many steps to get the same thing you'd get with CapCut.
Oh, really?
I imagine for YouTube it's probably better, maybe because you can structure things in different ways. But for what I do, which is 15 to 30 to 1 minute long videos, CapCut is amazing.
Yeah.
All I would say is like choose your fonts, get your brand consistent, and then sound design as well. I've learned over the time sound design, so audio is really important. Layering on audio when scene changes, add some audio transitions as well. It's all helpful. Yeah. I'm getting excited talking about this.
I can tell. I
can
tell.
pivot
I mean,
the career. Wow.
yeah, you could become a content creator now
Yeah.
as well. I mean, I personally love an app as well. I mean, the amount of apps I subscribe to,
That's a danger, isn't it? When you
It
see these
is.
direct debits are fine, right? But I was on my phone earlier. Go cardless is a bit of a not a scam, but it's a bit risky because this is mortgage stuff now.
Yeah.
So when you have a direct debit, it's linked to your bank account, and you
Yeah.
can cancel it when you want, right?
yeah.
And the same with standing orders. You set that
Yeah.
up, you can Go cardless. They take your bank card and set monthly payments, but there's no central system to check what you've got set up. It annoys me so much.
And to cancel it is
Yeah,
not as
it's such
easy.
a pain because you don't know who's responsible for it.
Yeah, and you normally have to ring the person debiting you
Yep.
to get them to stop taking it.
And if you update your card, you have a failed payment. I'm like, but go cardless. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really important because for things like credit scoring.
100%. Yeah. And shall we go into credit?
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, no, I think like mortgage advice or golden advice is keep on top of your credit files and your credit report. When people look at the score, ignore the whole 909 thing. It's cool and you've got it, but it doesn't really mean much because Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, they all measure that differently. So it's just an internal score,
Right,
but it's a good idea of what's going on. What you should look at is the zeros and the ones on the report.
right.
You just want all zeros, which means you paid on time, nothing out of date.
Uh,
If it's 1, it means you're 1 month late or in arrears.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, obviously, gets worse and worse.
yeah,
And then the other thing, especially in the UK, it's so easy to get a CCJ, county court judgment.
yes.
If you get a parking ticket or a parking fine, and then you speak to your friends and like, oh, ignore it, it's a private fine, they can't do anything about it. If you get the letters and you ignore them, they can just write to small claims and put your CCJ on your file. That will last for 6 years, and it will severely impact your lending potential. So I would say, for the sake of £60, pay the fine, argue about it afterwards.
Yeah,
And if you end up in a situation where you have a CCJ, once it's applied, if you pay it off within 30 days, it doesn't go on your file.
Okay.
So I really have little sympathy when people call me and say, I didn't know it was on there. Well, you did, because you had so many steps in between.
Yeah.
If they followed that process, you kind of are aware.
Yeah, I think, and I was actually talking to my last guest as well, like when you're at school, no one teaches you any of this.
Yeah.
And then you come out into the big bad real world, and then,
Yeah.
you know, someone says CCJ, like if I said CCJ to, I don't know, someone a lot younger,
Yes.
or children that have just left school, left uni, they don't know what
wouldn't know.
CCJ is.
They wouldn't know.
A default, or
But what they would know is they'd be like, yeah, but I ignore all parking fines. I ignore tickets. They do that because that's what the social media stuff is. But don't ignore them. There's a reason they exist.
it says on social media to ignore them.
Yeah, if you like if you put that you've had a ticket, the cool thing to do,
Yeah.
or your friends will say, yeah, just ignore it. They can't, they can't put it on. But that's because they've heard it from someone who's heard it from someone who's heard it from someone.
Oh my God. Okay.
I pay all my parking tickets.
Do you?
Yeah.
But you pay it first and then appeal
And
it
then
after?
if I'm genuine, like I had one recently. I was in a hotel car park, but I paid for it on an app that was not linked to the hotel.
Okay.
And I think the issue was I validated my ticket at the hotel, but I was 10 minutes over my stay basically for
Right.
the fee they charged.
Yeah.
So I paid it, and then I sent them the proof, and they've waived it. That's the way you should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for the little tip on.
Gem of the day.
Yeah. No, it is, honestly. Like the amount of people who don't understand credit scoring and they just look at it's green or it's
It's
near
999,
100.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting to know that all the different companies measure differently.
Yeah. Which again is just annoying, but the website I would use is www.checkmyfile.com. Free for 30 days like all the other ones, but the thing is that pulls through from all three. And it's quite colourful and visuals, it's easy to read.
Check my file. Okay. So Shaz, can you give me examples of red and green flags in clients?
Okay, sure. So I guess clients I like working with are ones that trust me. So if I say I'm recommending this product, this rate, this lender, it's a case of, you're sure? If you think that's the best, let's carry on. As opposed to, oh, but what about this? Or how about this? And it's a case of, well, look, if that was the best, I would have maybe gone for that. And it always people who say, oh, is this definitely the best rate we can get? And I'm just like, no, it's the second best. I was trying to prank you.
Why would I do that?
Yeah, like speed. Speed is really important, right?
Yeah.
That's a green flag is trust. Definite red flag. I say red flag was just me getting annoyed. It's like people who take weeks to get stuff back to you because it's not important to them at that time.
Yeah.
They get you what you need back, and then suddenly it's like, now can you give us a big push? Or they chase you like the next day. It's like, hang on, you took 3 weeks to get this over to me. Relax.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think people who don't prioritize getting information over to you. And another red flag is people who expect you to do guesswork.
Okay.
So if I send you a form, so there is some form filling involved, but you don't fill in half of it because you feel it's not, NA, it's not applicable. It's on there because it is applicable. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, our job as a broker is to position and present you as the best client for that lender. We need all this information to package that. So nothing's NA. So people who just don't bother filling in forms because they're too busy or too important, that's a red flag.
So just going back to when you said the red flag was when people take 3 weeks to reply, for example. And then, I don't know, say the rate's not available anymore.
Yeah, happens.
And then it's your fault.
I have no sympathy. I'll say anymore. I don't have any sympathy because it's a case of the rate's not secured until this part of it happens. You get me everything back. We submit it to the lender. You pay the initial fees.
Yeah.
That's when it's secure.
Yeah.
So if you've taken a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get data back to me, unfortunately, you've lost that rate.
Yeah.
But it's about messaging that across in a more pragmatic way, which we try our best to do. It is weird though because often content I consume at sales training is that it's like a mirror. So if you're not speedy or responsive, clients won't be. But then I'm always on it. Like I respond to people straight away. So, but I do wonder why people are so slow sometimes.
And you did say sometimes it's not important to them, or they're busy doing other things, or they just think, I'll do it when I get some time. And it's all right. Shaz and his team will deal with
Shaz
it.
will sort it out. Yeah. Of course, I'm a magician.
Yeah, and Shaz don't sleep at night and he doesn't have holidays, so he's just going to be able to work it out. But, at the end of the day, you're going to a lender. Like you said, you've got to package it. Now, a lot of people don't understand when you say packaging something for the lender. So if someone's coming along and they've given you everything you asked for and there was no NAs
Yes.
and they filled in the form perfectly, what do you mean by packaging it?
So if I give you like an example then, is let's say you've given me everything, and through that everything you established, by the way, Shaz, 2 months ago, I had a bounce direct debit on my credit card. There was a reason I had the money in my account and didn't transfer it in time. So you make me aware of that. Our packaging would involve making the lender aware of that, giving them the evidence to preempt. Because I think, again, people don't understand, it's better if I tell the lender up front, by the way, this is what's happened, here's the evidence, just tick it off.
Yeah.
Versus me not telling them because I don't know.
Yeah.
And them asking the question.
Yeah.
The kind of detail or the data is the same, but it's the way it's like, oh, hang on, did you think we weren't going to find out? Versus, well, look, I've told you, and so good. So packaging is, positioning you in a way that makes sense. About your experience, you might say, Shaz, look, I've not owned any properties, but actually I've been in property all my life. My parents were in property. I've project managed, these projects. If I didn't know that, you'd be more of a newbie in experience. But now that I know that, I can position that and tell the lender that you're more credible because even though there's no ownership, you've been involved with deals.
That's so interesting because somebody buying a property isn't going to think, oh, do I need to tell Shaz that, I don't know, my direct debit from Netflix didn't go through 2 months ago. Because they're probably not going to think that's important.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. But it definitely is important. Your conduct on your credit is important. And ultimately, lenders will want your bank statements anyway. So any discrepancies, any missed payments, bounce payments, they'll see them. And if there's a trend, they'll definitely question it. I've got someone recently we're dealing with now in the office where he's doing a bit of gambling, but it's not a lot. It's just like, Betfred or whatever it is. But what's more concerning is there's payments going in from a small payday loan company.
Oh. Yeah.
But he's not told me this, but I've obviously gone through and had a look. So I've sent him an email saying, look, just want to understand, what is this? Is this something you plan to do for longer than normal? And if you are doing that, by the way, if that's one of your hobbies, just set up a separate bank account. Transfer maybe £1,000 a week or month, whatever your needs are, into that account, just so it's not visible on your main bank account.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with gambling, like doing the gambling, but I think if it shows it's like a trend or it's getting worse or it's continuous and regular, then it can be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, because I think people underestimate how much you can find out about a person from their bank statement.
100%. I mean, obviously I have to go through them.
Yeah.
And I know people have a bad Deliveroo habit or things like that. Right?
Yeah. I remember when I used to work for Barclays and when we used to do student overdrafts.
Yeah.
And Starbucks, Costa, but you've come in for an overdraft. Normally it wasn't even for student-related expenses, but they'd be like, I need some books. Well, really, I know you're going on holiday or you're trying to do something with your friends. And you're just like, well, if you didn't have like 3 Costa transactions per day or something on your account, do you know what that totals to? And it's just making them aware because no one totals it or thinks.
Especially nowadays, it's so easy just to tap and forget. Tap and forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but what can you do? I think people just need to manage their money in a bit more of a systemized way. So your income comes in, set aside X amount for savings, X amount for spending, X amount for lifestyle and bills. Maybe do it that way. I don't see anything wrong with having multiple bank accounts for different reasons, rather than one big funneled account that has loads of things happening.
Yeah. So like a bills account, going out account.
Going out account, yeah.
Any bank account that you would suggest? Because I know like Monzo does all these pots and different accounts.
The one I would avoid, just on the flip, is Tide. If you're a property investor, the only reason is nothing wrong with them. It's just they don't. So most bank accounts, if I said to you I need your bank statement, you can generate one up to today.
Yes.
Tide don't let you do it. It's once a month.
Okay.
So you'd have to wait another 3 weeks to get another bank statement, which can slow down applications.
Oh.
Other than that, Starling are very good. Monzo. Some people do have issues opening up bank accounts for property businesses with these modern banks because a lot of them aren't real banks and they just have to know what the money's for and stuff. So often going to your high street bank, Lloyds, Barclays, whoever, it's actually easier. Right.
These modern banks, what's your view on them?
I think technology in general is good. I mean, I've got one myself. I think it's good to have the apps. But I think what you lose sometimes is customer service. So we used to have a shop, corner shop, of course, and like I remember when my mum and dad needed a loan, we actually had the bank manager come in, have to have tea, biscuits, and a proper chat
in the
around.
olden days.
Yeah, what are your plans for this money and how and that relationship stuff is gone. I think that's the only issue with the modern banks is the lack of relationships. So they can kind of automate a lot of things. They can feed into your accounting platform. but there is the lack of the personal human touch.
Yeah. I mean, the apps are really easy. Like, I've got Monzo and I love the way it just does this little ka-ching.
Yeah, but these are all psychological things.
Yeah,
They must
it
pay
is.
someone thousands to analyse and figure out
Yeah.
what's the best sound. And
Yeah, but it works.
it works, of course it does, yeah.
We went on holiday recently and we told my brother to download Monzo so we could split bills and things. And then when he heard this ka-ching, he just got so excited. He was like, oh my God, it's bloody marvellous. And me and my sister were like, okay, like, because we were used to it. But it was, yeah, like you said, someone's probably analysed that. And there are so many.
There's so many. Try and go with the bank or that actually is a bank. Some of them don't have banking licenses, they're just money licenses.
Okay.
If you go with the ones that actually have banking licenses, your money's protected to a certain point.
The
£85,000, yeah. And some of them, so I use my main business, Metal, METTLE.
Okay.
They're part of NatWest. So sometimes there'll be a mirror of another main bank. I would stick with those. That's maybe, stick with those.
And how would somebody check that?
It should be clearly on their website. The ones that definitely are banks will say, we have a banking license, here's a reference number. Like Starling is a bank. Monzo, I don't think Monzo is actually. Yeah.
That's fun to go and check then.
Yep, check Monzo.
Okay, and what does it mean if they're not?
So if they're not, you lose a certain level of protection.
Okay.
And I guess when it comes to complaints and things, they're not as regulated as the banks would be.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add about where's Shaz? What's the future? What's he doing?
It's seasons, like I said. So I did slow down intentionally towards the end of last year.
Okay.
And when I say slow down, I just mean like less podcasts, less events, less travel.
Okay.
The funny thing is, Vina, so even when I do that, people still say, oh, you're everywhere. And that's just because at the kind of stage I'm at, even if I'm not everywhere, people are tagging me in things or resharing things. So it seems like I'm everywhere, which is great. That's a good position to be in.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more in the yes phase again right now. So I've agreed to speak certain events in London in June and July as well. Obviously, I've got the whole Dubai thing. The purpose of that trip is to do what I'm doing here, but for the Dubai market.
Okay.
And just to add more masala onto that.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that, and it's more now as well, a lot of the real estate brokers, so estate agents basically, they will do these amazing videos like rock stars, selling £1 million houses. I'm so excited to show you this 7-bedroom mansion and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's still no one, or not many people doing that for finance brokers.
Okay.
And I think that's where I fit in.
Right.
And what I find interesting is even in Dubai, where it's a lot more, I guess, common to do content, there isn't no one doing that finance thing. So I saw the gap, and that's what I'm doing. I have no intention to move, but you don't need to.
Yeah,
that's
you
the
don't
thing.
need
You
to.
don't need to. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Middle Eastern thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just want to keep adding value to people, and it's always good when I go to events and people are like, oh, we've been following you for so long, and good to finally meet you, and all this kind of stuff, and that's amazing. It makes makes me feel good.
Yeah.
I just want to keep doing what I'm doing.
And making all this amazing content.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as consistent as I should be.
You seem like you are. Do you schedule loads, or you've got
No.
a bank of content maybe?
That's the thing, I don't. So
You don't? Okay.
No, I think the only kind of formula that I have is if it's quite educational, I'll do it in the office with my tripod and just sit down and talk into camera. If it's more fun, it'll be out and about. But then it's a time at the office and getting a videographer. So it's balancing that as well. I think if I'm out and about, I'll try and get at least 4 or 5 videos, then I can spread out. But I don't post every day. I'll post maybe once a week, if that. It just seems like more
It
because...
seems like more, yeah.
But that's just because people share and the algorithm, I guess.
And what's your main platform that you share on?
Instagram.
Do you do TikTok as well?
No, I need to do TikTok, but I think I need to do it with intention. At the moment, I just post the Instagram stuff on TikTok.
Okay.
And that doesn't really land that well.
Yeah.
I've been told TikTok's a little bit more rough and ready. So maybe hold the mic and make it seem authentic and this and that.
Yeah.
I might try that if I have time.
Okay. If you have time.
If I have time. I mean, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, I know you can get loads of good business off LinkedIn. I use it more to network with other people in my industry.
Okay.
So, because again, small brokerage from Wales, to get into rooms and have conversations with certain leaders and higher ups, that's what I use LinkedIn for.
Brilliant. Any other platform? YouTube?
Not yet. You know
Not
what it is?
yet?
I find it hard to sit down and record long passages of text
Yeah.
or dialogue or speech. I can't focus that much.
Yeah.
So a YouTube video, I can imagine myself just stumbling so much that would frustrate me. But I might try it in Dubai
Yeah.
because I'll be on my own, just like in a dark
Yeah.
room recording. Yeah, no, YouTube is a untapped platform,
Yeah.
and then Facebook is basically family and friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always nice because on Facebook I'll post the same videos and it'd be old school friends going, "Oh, Shaz, this is so nice." And
Yeah.
that's nice.
For your aunties and uncles.
Yeah.
Going, oh, Shaz, you're doing
Cousins
so
in Pakistan
well.
as well. They're
Yeah.
like, "Mashallah."
Yeah. They're like, wow, look at our cousin in London. Love that. Thank you. So anything else? Any other tips that you would like to add before we sign off?
Sure. So I think from a mortgage perspective, because I'm always talking business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is if you are working with a broker, is just definitely tell them everything. Just be totally transparent upfront with them. Just remember they work for you, not for the lender.
Yes.
So their job is to understand your full situation, your kind of priorities now and in the short term and the medium term and the long term, and figure out a plan. Especially when you're investing in property, there's so many different strategies. Like, what do you want? Do you want cash flow? Do you want a capital appreciation? Discuss that with your broker. Just literally treat them like the finance department of your business, and treat your property business like an actual business. If you treat it like a side hobby, you won't make much money or you won't have much success. But if you treat it like a business, you will. So yeah, tell your broker everything. Be fully transparent with them. Work with the right professionals. So have you bought a house recently, or have you done it?
Not recently.
Solicitors, right? You should get a good solicitor. You have had a solicitor on this, haven't you?
Yes.
On the podcast, yes. Okay, solicitors are notoriously given a bad name in the property industry because I personally think they are like the slowest part of the process.
Yeah.
I can see why. It's because they don't charge enough money for the work they do.
Okay.
And then take on too many cases then. Ultimately, you have the solicitor, then you have like 4 power planners, and like it's just communication is not the best. So work with a good solicitor. Find someone who is not going to be on holiday for the next couple of weeks, who's able to speak to you directly as opposed to their power planners, who's able to communicate the way you want to communicate, and who understands what you're doing. So, as an example, if you're buying a house to live in, you need a residential conveyancer. They'll be relatively cheap. They might charge you £500. But if you use that same person for a buy-to-let mortgage for an investment or even something more complex than that, they'll take the case on and they'll probably charge you the same, but they won't have a clue what they're doing. It's like going to like a dentist, but for like a broken arm, because they're still medical professionals. They haven't. It's a different skill set. So pay what you need for a specialist, and the way to do that is to ask better questions.
Okay.
It's not to say, can you do this? Because they'll say, yes, I can. It's more to say, look, this is what I'm looking at. Is this something you've dealt with before?
Right.
I'm going to be potentially working with this lender. Have you worked with them before? Ask better questions.
Because then they have to be on a panel as well.
There's
and sometimes
panels
you
as well.
don't realise you've taken on a solicitor, but
Exactly
they're
that
not
as
on the
well.
panel for your
Look at
lender.
you. Look at you. No. So yeah, exactly. So when it comes to limited company mortgages,
Yeah.
so a lot of investors will buy properties in companies because of tax efficiency and so on.
Yeah.
The lenders in that space, they're not the high street lenders. They're more specialist.
Yeah.
There's lots of them though. But they'll have like a panel, maybe 20 to 50 solicitors that they've vetted or someone's vetted. You may have your favourite solicitor.
Yeah.
And they might be able to do the work, but actually they're not on the panel for the lender. So don't instruct them formally. Don't start searches. Don't pay them anything until you know you can actually work with them.
But wouldn't the solicitor tell you that first? That
You think they would, but you may not know what lender you're going to go with at that point. So you might say, look, I've had the offer agreed. Can you start the searches? And then you speak to your broker, or what lender. Do it the other way around. Speak to your broker first.
Right.
Which lender am I going to go with? Here's the link to the panel.
Yeah.
Choose someone on that list.
Yeah.
Same with brokers, by the way. Just like ask better questions before you work with a broker. So I think I touched on it earlier. Some brokers will specialize in everything.
Yes.
Right. But they specialize in nothing. So if, let's just say, okay, a popular strategy right now is social housing. So you get government contracts, they put in like asylum seekers or ex-criminals in a property, right? You get higher income and it's guaranteed because it's government. That's a popular strategy. But if you work with a broker who doesn't understand that, they'll struggle to find a lender. Or if they stumble their way through, they'll struggle to package that in a way that makes sense.
Right.
Because of all the leases in the contract. Because if you just have like a normal tenant, you have a AST, an assured tenancy agreement. So if you're speaking to a broker, don't just say, I need a mortgage. Explain to them, I've got this contract. Is this something you've dealt with before? What kind of lenders do you use? How many of these have you done? They shouldn't be offended by the questions. They should be keen to answer. They should give you some case studies, some examples of deals they've done in that space. And also ask about fees. So here's the other thing about fees. Mortgage brokers sometimes don't charge fees. Some of them do charge fees. Some charge a lot. Some charge quite little. I wouldn't say there's any right or wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the way to look at it and just to have the knowledge is that whether or not they charge you a fee or not, they will always get paid by the lender anyway when the deal completes. But that is some 6, 8, 10 weeks after you start the process, and they may not go ahead, right? I charge fees, but some don't. But the ones that don't charge fees, there is maybe a misconception or an opinion that they will then maybe place you with a lender that is going to get paid them a bit more, or they may literally just be churning business to get more back-end fees. So they may not give the due care and attention, maybe. But just ask about the fee structure. When is that payable? What happens if the case doesn't complete? Is it refundable? The more questions you ask, the better outcome you're going to get.
Thank you. Lots of golden nuggets there.
In that last stretch, yeah.
Yeah.
In one breath.
I feel like you were just creating some content there. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. So thank you, Shaz, for
Thank you,
coming
Vina.
today. If you can tell us your website, social handles.
I would just say, I've been saying this on every podcast recently, is just ask the magic question on social media. Where's Shaz?
Okay.
Everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Website?
Use the company website, which is www.elanpropertyfinance.co.uk. My personal website it's kind of under construction. I've got a Where's Shaz website,
Okay.
but I needed to make it more of a landing page rather than a...
Right.
Because, yeah.
Okay. So that's coming as well.
Yeah, it's there, but the current one will not be there much longer.
Okay. So mainly Instagram.
Mainly Instagram, guys, DM me and you'll realise how quick I am on replying. I don't like having unread messages or unread WhatsApp messages. And I think if you're in any kind of service role or sales role,
Yeah.
I've realised most messages I get on WhatsApp or Instagram, most of them, 90%, you can answer with yes, no, maybe I'll get back to you. So why would you need to diarise time to I don't get it.
I'm exactly the same. I reply to people really quickly and they're just like, are you always on your phone?
I get told the same thing.
And I'm
no,
like,
I'm not. It's just...
No, I just see it and I think, well, I'll reply to you now. One, I might forget, or
Yeah.
two, it's like, well, I'm in a service industry, so I've got a beauty clinic, and if the client wants a facial or they want a massage, they want it now.
Exactly.
If you don't respond, they're going to go to somebody
Yeah.
else who does respond.
They've messaged you now because they're free now, so just answer.
Yeah, just
And
respond.
if it needs a longer response, then say I'll get back to you by the end of the day. But
Yeah.
at least they know where they stand.
Yeah.
I find it hilarious when people say they can't manage or they have a task list set for replying to messages. Of course, email's a bit different, but
Yeah.
anything like WhatsApp. And if someone does WhatsApp me, I'll have a few WhatsApp groups with clients. Sometimes my go-to response is yes, please put this in an email, just so we have a thread.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally agree with you. I'm with you there.
And yeah, I create, but I
Yeah.
also consume a lot because I want to know what's going on. What
Yeah.
works for other people? How can I adapt it and do something my style? So I posted something this week about... Have you seen... I think you were on holiday. I did like a narration thing. It was like a Hollywood trailer.
Okay.
And I didn't copy that, but that's a trend on TikTok about doing like a Hollywood voiceover. So like, this is Shaz, he does this. And it was like one of my most engaged videos because it was funny, I guess.
People love funny content. I've noticed on our beauty page where I'll post something about a facial or some popular treatment, and that's okay. It'll do all right.
do
The
normal.
moment then we put a video out where one of my members of staff is dragging my sister across the floor of the clinic, and that did better.
Yeah. And I've realised, and then what I try and do then, it's just exactly the same. Anything educational does okay.
Yeah.
Anything slightly more like, look where I am, it's just a fancy event, or
Yeah.
funny, as it were,
Yeah.
it gets a lot more people engaging with it and liking with it. But I try and hack it then, so I'll do one of those videos that gets the audience's attention, follow up with an education piece. Because that's what I want to post is education.
Exactly. I get it. So yeah, the whole social media world is like, you just don't know what to do sometimes. But
Guys, and also, sorry, just last thing. You know,
Go
with
for
social
it.
media, just believe but verify. So trust people, but verify what they're saying. Because I wouldn't say it's easy, but anyone can build a brand or put on an image or say they've done something or say they do something. But ultimately, they could be lying or they could be misrepresenting what they're doing. So whether they're selling you a course, offering their services, try and get some reviews, some case studies, some word of mouth, or some referrals. Because especially with when you're parting with cash, ask more questions. I keep saying the same. Ask more questions. You want to work with the right people, and it is easy to be misled on social media.
thank you. Thank you for another golden nugget. Thank you so much, and don't forget to follow Where's Shaz. Thank you.
Thank you, Vina.